Hello and welcome to week 6 of Xbox's League Racing Week in Review series. Today we continue with coverage of BBS, WOR's Crossplay Tier 1 and NRC, as well as the opening rounds of WORLD and AEC's Tier S. But first, as always, we've got to get into this week's League Racing news. The biggest news of the week did involve TF10's Xbox size, as I speculated last week. With the team's remaining drivers all moving away, with WOR going to FRT and Nox moving to ECE, the team also lost its slot in AEC's Tier S in favour of ETE before the first round even began. In other transfer news, Nico left MVR to join Parnell, a move that may leave MVR's AEC roster somewhat weak until the next transfer window, which is 7 rounds into the season. Crucially though, it was an incredibly frustrating Sunday for NRX, as both Furious and Cindery elected to leave the team, while Rusty seems to have gone AWOL, leaving all servers and blocking everyone in the League Racing community. Could we see the end of NRX as a result of this? Okay, so this is mid-editing Fox here, and I've literally, just as I've been editing this segment, NRX have announced that they're folding, with owners Luca, Fresh, Jan, and Loveland citing other projects and focuses as reasons that the team just can't continue with the amount of time that they can give to it. This, of course, leaves a huge number of incredibly talented drivers, including the aforementioned Rusty, Furious, and Cindery, as well as the likes of Levi, Ogween, Quantum, Finn, M-Racer, Legriff, Jack RT, and probably more that I'm forgetting, all without a team. And so teams down the pecking order a little, such as like BRT, MVR, FRT, and Parnell, are surely going to be struggling to bring in NRX's talents. So, of course, be sure to stay tuned for next week when I'm sure we'll have a lot more information on the situation with all the NRX drivers. But for now, we've got to move on to the racing action this week. So then, it was BBS to kick off the racing action for the week, as always. The final round of BBS before the mid-season break was at Silverstone on Monday night, with PSR Sava eventually taking pole in a rain-affected session. He was joined on the front row by BRT's Passy, with PSR Arch and NRX Furious heading up the chasing pack.
Here we go.
Forward with P3.
Second time the round, and we are going. Hopefully, no safety car. No safety car this time. It's Sam starting on pole position with Passy alongside him. Who's going to get away well? It's Passy who had a slow start, and it's Arch around the outside. He's going to follow his teammate through. And I think Passy's had a terrible start. Now Furious is all over him, trying to go for 2 moves into turn 3. Oh my god, turn 2, sorry. And he gets Passy, I think. Passy's still on the inside. Can he get the move done? He's wrapping it all the way around the outside. I think Furious has done it. He's going to get the X8. Yes, he does. Passy misses 2 positions off the line. It's a bad start.
With the rain also pouring down in the race, Sav held the lead at the start, with Passy behind getting a poor getaway, dropping behind Furious and Arch to P4. Sav's lead didn't last long, however, as he actually disconnected on lap 2 and dropped to 8th by the time he could rejoin. On lap 6, though, Arch was able to take the lead from Furious with this move.
This happened the other way around. Then right here, Arch went deep, but Arch got deep on the braking. Is he going to get it through 17? They're side by side all the way through 16, 17 and 18. And Arch takes the lead with one of the best moves I've seen since a few laps ago.
Lap 10 saw drivers begin to pit for new intermediate tyres, with the track showing no sign of drying up. This triggered more stops the following lap, including race leader Furious. Arch chose to stay out a few laps longer, costing him, dropping the PSR over to a net 6th. But Liam Bowman, who had made an undercut work, was now in 2nd, with his teammate Drobble trying to do some valiant defensive work in an attempt to close down the lead.
For a pint of milk and a Kit Kat.
But look at Drobble. Yeah, no, look at Drobble for the lead. He's defending like a lion down into Brooklyn. He's giving the squeeze of death. Coming into it, but the fresh try is really showing it. But Drobble's still in it. He's going through Luffield. They're still side by side. Look at this, a great camera action shot. The helicopter cam. Drobble pushing him off onto the gravel. Drobble defending for his life, for his team, trying to get him back in it to win it. Furious is going to be absolutely furious with that.
Arch, though, was able to make his way back to the head of the field on the overcut, ahead of taking the win for PSR ahead of NRX's Furious, with Sav and Rusty battling for 3rd right up to the line.
I think Arch has that straight line speed to hold on for now. And see in the background these 4 drivers pretty much within a second.
He's really blocked through Stone, it finds Sav around the outside, and they're always got 3-second time penalty. That will be probably, that'll go to the steward report, but can Sav get the move down on track? He's going to dive it down 17, they make contact. Rusty's on the outside line, can he hold it? No, Sav is in front, and he takes it, but he forces him off track as well. That might go to the stewards.
The incident did end up going to the stewards, but Sav didn't end up being penalised for it, so it did leave PSR with yet another podium in the series. It was a disappointing show from MVR, however, with Liam Bowman in 5th, their highest finisher, and their only finish in the top 12, which leave them only 10 points ahead of BRT in their fight for 3rd in the standings. while PSR continue to extend their lead. Console's biggest teams tournament returned this week, and the round 1 of World heads to Monaco. Both commentators and owner Luke revealed their pre-season predictions before qualifying. For the winners, both commentators picked reigning champions PSR, while Luke fancied OP. However, on the other end of the scale, FRT were included in the bottom 2 of all 3 predictions, whilst one standout was from Jota, who put BRT to end the season as runners-up. Qualifying started dramatically, with a driver each from Shizou, Parnell, OP, BRT and MVR being eliminated in Q1. Q2 saw both remaining MVR and BRT drivers knocked out, in addition to one each from G League, FRT and favourites PSR. This left a Q3 session in which NLR and NRX were the only 2 teams to have both drivers competing, but in the end it was OP's Louis Valentine who took pole, which was no surprise to anyone. Louis was joined on the front row by G League's Flopman, with NRX Sindri and FRT's Chelsea close behind.
And here we go. It's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, and it's 5 lights. It's 5 lights, and they are a go. The drivers here, the other lights were on for just a very short moment here, and almost caught Flopman out here as he's going to get attacked immediately from NRX's Sindri. But on this occasion, he's not going to get on there, and the Flopman will stay in front. But they're still going side by side, actually, are the 2 drivers all the way through and up the hill. But G League's Flopman there easily able to hold off there the attack from Sindri initially out the blocks.
And Sindri's so much on the curb, nearly getting caught into the wall there. Got Chelsea and Tom running behind him as well. Move being made in towards Mirabel. There's a bit of contact, I think, further in the background. There's more contact in towards the Grand Hotel hairpin. Both Ferraris, I think there's also...
The top 4 all got away cleanly, despite Sindri failing to load the correct setup, and this meant that he was falling adrift from the top 2 quickly. Eventually, though, FRT Chelsea was able to make his way through.
In this race, Sindri has no setup apparently, which is why maybe he is slower. Chelsea looks the inside line into Mirabel.
Oh my goodness me!
Tries to get the job done. He's on the outside line until the Grand Hotel hairpin. Going to be forcing the wall if he's not careful, and they're going around at 20 miles an hour coming through here. Chelsea gets the job done to the inside line, and now Tom trying to come to the inside line as well. Ruti in all of this as well, and now it's going to be...
Somewhat uncharacteristically for Monaco, though, there were no safety cars for the rest of the race, with Louis controlling at the head of the field, followed by GL Flopman, FRT Chelsea and Furious, with PR's Ian and GL's Grimbos in 5th and 6th accepting to go to the end after stopping in the opening laps. The second half saw some of the cars having to pit the damage, but Louis continued to control proceedings, whilst Chelsea was being hunted down by Furious for 3rd. Lap 34, though, saw one of the overtakes of the race, with this move from Shizou's Kazizel, who was recovering from the back of the field.
I'm not going to be particularly happy with the performance here, as we've still got another battle happening and brewing at the moment between NLR's Ruti Gillett and Shizou's Kazizel. 11-lap-old mediums versus 14-lap-old hards. Is it another one around the outside? Can you believe it? Once again, that is turning out to be a real hotspot for racing around the outside of that.
As the race began to drag into the final few laps, it was clear that some people were beginning to tire, with 3 cars, including both NLR drivers and G League Grimbos, crashing out in quick succession. There were no such mistakes from Louis, though, who took the win with their 30-second lead ahead of second-place Flopman. Chelsea held off Furious to take 3rd, although a post-race penalty for cutting the pit lane would hand the final podium place to NRX.
For Outplayed Racing's Louis, as Nick has retired, he's finally crashed out at the top of the hill, but it's not going to matter to this man. The Ferrari of Outplayed Racing's Louis Valentine will take race 1's victory here at Midnight Monaco. He wins here tonight, and then it will be, in the end, 29 seconds back, possibly even above 30 for G League's Flop.
So then, the standings look like so, with OP getting out to an early lead, while FRT looks set to outscore their predictions of 9th and 10th. The AEC season also kicked off last week, with round 1 taking place at Qatar. Liam Bowman was able to take pole for MVR, followed by PSR's Placky and BRT Carsey.
It's a difficult time. But speaking of difficult times, have a good time as all 5 lights are on now ahead of the drivers. And they're out. Sam are underway for the opening race in TRS, and it's a good start from the pole sitter Liam Bowman. The Williams of Ruben Paulinho pulling to the left-hand side then aggressively as he tries to make moves for Team Shizou. Here we go then, into turn 1 now, and Liam Bowman holds the lead of the race at a Placky ahead of Ogween ahead of Carsey, who are wheel to wheel coming through turn 2 now. It's Ogween on the inside through turn 3. We've had some spins, and it's TN Furious down the order alongside a few other cars, including Furious Magician in there as well. Big moment there at the start of the race.
Bowman there able to get away cleanly, although there were several spinners in the mid-pack. On lap 4, however, a safety car was deployed, which gave an interesting strategy dilemma, with some of the field opting for new mediums for a medium-medium strategy, while others staying out on the hards, hoping to go to the end on just one stop. In the laps following the restart, the drivers of the pit had made progress past some of the lower runners who'd stayed out, with Arch and Rain for PSR and FRT respectively leading the new tyre pack. By the time the next pit stop window came around, Arch had made the way all the way to second, whilst Rain was fourth. Arch waited until lap 18 to make his second stop though and was heavily undercutted, meaning he'd have to make progress back through the field. And make progress he did, soon pulling off this double move into turn 1.
Charge for the race victory. Liam Bowman has taken the lead on the circuit. Drobble is ahead of Ruben as well. It's all change in this mid-pack. Arch next up, chasing Furious, chasing Ruben, and this could be another double overtake imminently. As into turn 1, Arch down the inside. It's another double overtake. Yeah. Is seriously stuttering. I can barely hear a thing now. But we're just going to have to go with this. With 2 more corners left to go in the Grand Prix, it is neck and neck between Liam Bowman and NRX Ogween. But look, 3.002. Who's going to get the victory coming up to the line? It's about the straight line speed. Bowman wins on track. Ogween to the line. Bowman wins the season opener in Qatar by a 10.5 on penalties. A fantastic performance from Bowman, who under pressure continued to extend the gap. It's FRT Rain finishing third ahead of
Bowman in the end there, able to tightly hold off Ogween for the win, with FRT Rain coming home for third. Drobble rose to fourth thanks to Archer's penalty, giving MVR a big lead in the standings. WR Tier 1 action also continued this week following a hectic race last week in Saudi Arabia. The tier headed to Spain with Kai topping the standings from Sab and Fezzo, who inherited the win at the previous race thanks to penalties to Sam Gamer. Kai may have been top of the standings, but that didn't stop Sab from taking pole position in this race, with Kian and Kai taking second and third to make it an all PSR top 3 in qualifying.
5 red lights here at the Circuit de Catalunya, and away we go. And it looks like a pretty good start there from PSR Kai in the background, but he's kind of boxed in by Sab, his teammate. So he can't really go up to the inside. Kian's doing a good job. Will he dart up the inside as they go into turn 1? He thinks better of it, but Rusty's going full throttle through this, and he's deciding that... Oh, I thought someone had gone off the track there, but that is just a little bit of a glitch there, thankfully. But it seems like Kian has made a move on Sab into turn 3.
Max disconnected then towards the rear of the field, really unfortunate.
Although Sab held the lead initially, Kian was able to take the lead into Sector 2 thanks to a good run around turn 3. The first stint of the race saw an intriguing battle between the PSR trio of Sab, Kai and Kian at the front, where positions were swapped on several occasions into turn 1. This included a double move on Sab on lap 8, which dropped into third from the lead.
Diving into the pit lane and just firming a long stint on the hards. Meanwhile, Kian is back into the lead of the race, and here comes Kai as well, the championship leader, against his second place championship teammate. Wheel to wheel now through turn 2 and up through turn 3. Completely flat out through here. Kai's got to be careful on that inside line not to push Sav wide, but Kai is through. Sav now down 2 places.
This battle for the lead, though, didn't stay so tame throughout the whole race, eventually blowing over on lap 32.
You just lose your head a little bit, but let's go back to the leaders. What happens here? Does any move happen? The 2 Red Bulls are becoming a little bit of a roadblock for the 2 of them. Have they collided and let Cindery take the lead of this Grand Prix? They have, and that is not ideal at all. Surely nail down and get some extra points caught onto his teammate as they come through all this. PSR Kian, though, is going to take victory. You mentioned this being 4 different race winners in 4 different races, and Cindery is going to come home in second, but it is a race victory for PSR Kian. What an entertaining final.
Kian there able to come out on top in a final lap battle between him and Cindery for the win, making it 4 different winners in the first 4 races. Kai ended up third with South 4th and M-Racer 5th to round out the top 5. It was NRC's round 6 Imola then to round out the week, with PSR holding a 6-point lead in the championship, having leapfrogged OP at China. Just 17 drivers were fielded, with Juventus having roster issues and NRX Cindy failing to turn up. This, coupled with the qualifying ban for NRX Heroes, meant that Shazoo Tom was the only proper elimination from the first part of qualifying. Q2, though, saw both FVR drivers eliminated, alongside BRT's Lou, Shazoo Jensen and GL Flotman, leaving Q3, and it was PSR Kai who took pole, with his first run being good enough to beat all the rest of the field. NLR Urpek was a surprise front row start alongside him, with OP locking out the second row in their charge to beat PSR to the title.
Go then. Safety car or not, all 5 lights are on now ahead of the drivers. And we're racing in Imola, and it's a great getaway from PSR Kai on the corner at turn 1, but NLR Urpek will tuck into his slipstream and might fancy taking the lead around the outside going into turn 1. He fancies it, the NLR driver. He goes down the inside at turn 2, but ultimately has to back out coming through turn 3 and onto turn number 4 and 5 we go with the Varianti Villeneuve, and it's basically single file coming through here with very few drivers able to make the opening, but Shazoo Jensen, is going around the outside at Tosa, turn number 7.
The junior will start to work together, see if they can pick these two ahead of them now.
Yeah, absolutely no sign of any change, but here comes PSRK and he's hit him! Big drama at the top of the championship with Markados getting spun around early on here. Huge moment on only lap 2 of this Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix.
Although the field got away cleanly on lap 1, it didn't take long for the race to unravel, with Kian and Markados making contact at turn 1 on the second lap in the battle between championship rivals PSR and OP. After briefly breaking away, the top 3 are recaught thanks to some good pace from NLR's Keke, who left almost the entire field in a DRS once again. On lap 15 though, MVR's Axe was the first driver to dive it into the pits and attempt the undercut, which triggered other starts across the next couple of laps. Kai held the net lead though, with Axe rising to second, although he was carrying a penalty, with G-League's Flopman in net third. A safety car was deployed after a crash for MVR Stonks on lap 22, with FER Jerome, who is still leading the race on old hard tyres, pitting for softs along with most others and coming up P2. Racing resumed on lap 25 and Jerome was able to take the lead into turn 1, doing 2.5 seconds to Urpek in one lap, largely thanks to this dive from Kai.
Jeroen has pulled. There's 1.5 seconds between himself and Urpek, but 1.7 between himself and Furious, so it's really going to be close at the end of the race between Jeroen and the rest of them with no penalties.
Don't go anywhere, FVR members. It's down the inside goes Kai! He's going to hit him! Oh, he's going to hit NLR Urpek! And he bounces off the side of the Aston Martin and picks up a 3-second time penalty for cutting the corner.
With Kai now carrying that penalty, it made Jeroen's job to take the win much easier, now just having to pull 3 seconds to NLR's Keke. And coming into the final sector, he had just enough.
Unfortunately, unless he can find a miracle amount of time in the final corner, but it's FVR Jeroen for rounding the final corner now to potentially take victory. He's done so on track. We await on Keke. And Jeroen wins in Imola. That is absolutely
Jeroen took the win from Keke just half a second behind after the penalties were applied, with OP Nando completing the podium. Kai dropped a 4th after his penalty, whilst Axe's 6 seconds drops him all the way to 8th. That does round off everything for today's video though, and if you did enjoy this rundown, all the support is super appreciated, and make sure to tune in at a similar time next week for another review. Thank you all so much for watching, and goodbye.